Hi, everybody. Welcome to our very first episode of Roundtable Co-op's Indie Insights, where we get to talk with some people in the indie development scene and just see what's going on, pick their brains and have a chat with them. And we're lucky enough today to be talking to Alan Frazier, who is part of WA Games Week, which is kicking off the 17th to the 23rd of September. So that's very exciting. And Alan, I'm so happy to have you here and to be chatting to you today.
Yeah, it's fantastic to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So this is a big thing, like because we've had Perth Games Fest in the past, which was run by Let's Make Games, and that has been a great event to showcase the games that our local indie dev scene here in Western Australia are putting on. But when you're talking about a global games market that's worth, like, I think I saw a report that said it was worth $200 billion, and that was back in 2021. So that's a long time ago. So you can only imagine that it's grown. That's huge. Like that's crazy big. And seeing WA Games Week come in with still having that Perth Games Fest as part of it, but also having the networking and the development of the developers there. That's huge. So I guess before we kind of get into it too much there, I'd like to learn a bit about your background and where you've come from and your road to being involved with WA Games Week.
Sure thing. So my background, as you can tell from my accent, I'm originally from the U.S. I moved here in 2020 from Germany, 2 weeks before COVID lockdown. Immediately fell in love with WA, and I have every intention of staying for the long haul.
Mhm.
I've been in the games industry now since 2010. I've done free to play online, free to play mobile, AAA. Most notably, my favorite project I love to talk about was Ghost Recon Phantoms, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Phantoms with Ubisoft Singapore. But I've spent most of my career in video games in Germany. I got here, and by the end of 2020, I got involved with the local Let's Make Games group, which is a fantastic grassroots group, a big Discord, Facebook group of indie developers, games fans, etc. that have been keeping the dream alive and helping slowly but steady build up the games industry here in Perth and WA.
I can imagine that's being a bit of a hard slog, especially coming from Asia, where under Ubisoft Singapore, where mobile gaming is so big over there, and where it's not so big in Australia. In fact, I'd go out on a limb and say probably not so big in the Western world. Um, but then being in Germany as well and being part of the European game development scene to coming over here, that must have been a quite a big culture shock in terms of the industry itself.
The yeah, it's Germany isn't known for being number one in AAA, for example, but they have a lot of silent achievers. I don't know. I don't have a better way of putting it other than just a number of companies that may have flown a bit under the radar. Obviously, you hear about Crytek, you hear about the Ubisoft studios there, or Blue Byte, but they have a number of other very highly successful companies such as Big Point or Eno Games, where I used to work, that have done phenomenally well in the mobile and especially originally in the browser space. They've been an absolute killing in the browser space. And then coming here, funny enough, WA's got a lot of interest in VR, which segues perfectly to working with Immerse. But the one thing that I see the most of here, of like students getting really excited about, is VR. Obviously, there's still plenty of people that are working on console titles if they can, or mobile as well. But the sheer love and interest in VR, and the amount of skills here in VR in Australia is really impressive.
That surprises me a little bit because VR is still kind of a niche thing. Like I've got a Rift 2 headset over on the side, but I've only really used it. Like I played Microsoft Flight Sim a bit for it, but I'm a huge Star Wars gamer and I bought it for
Mhm.
Star Wars Squadrons and I just absolutely adored playing it in there. And of course you got stuff like Beat Saber that everybody I think has to get when you play VR. And I'm actually quite impressed that we're so involved with that. And like you say, it's getting involved with Immerse Australia as well, who are a big hand in shaping what's kind of coming out of WA Games Week as well. So you mentioned getting involved with Let's Play Games. When did you first start getting involved with them? Was that as soon as you got into WA?
Just about. So Let's Make Games, I got involved around the PGF, sorry, the Perth Games Festival of 2020. And then I stayed in touch with the then president of Let's Make Games, Gray, who got me involved in the whole thing. And I then volunteered the subsequent year, and I've been going to a bunch of the local meetups, game dev meetups, almost monthly when I get the time.
That's really cool. Like, and one of the big things that I'm kind of big because I work in the content creation space a little as a side hustle kind of thing. I got my day job, but I do that, and I do things like this, a little bit of games journalism as well. And networking is such a big thing. Like, you can't work in isolation. You need to talk to other people, find out what they're doing, and see how they're going. And this is obviously how Let's Make Games has come across, and particularly with Immerse Australia and Caitlin Lomax getting involved with this big
Yeah.
push, because like you've really made a big change from just the Perth Games Fest, which is a great event. I must admit, I've only been involved in the scene for a few years, and I went to one in 2021, which unfortunately, height of COVID, there wasn't any hands-on stuff, but that was the reality of where we were at the time. But getting to see that grow into WA Games Week, and seeing these other, not not disparate, but just kind of like-minded people get together and run this. So how have you guys come together to make WA Games Week and grow Perth Games Fest?
That's a good question. One thing I just wanted to add to just a quick thought I wanted to add to what you said is that one of the best things about Perth Games Festival is that it's always brought together students and other local devs. Like, that's been one of the key highlights of it, is getting them to talk to each other and help expand the networking in that regard. And through that, for example, in the PGF 2022, Caitlin Lomax was on the panel discussion, which is how we ended up meeting. And she's been a partner involved with Let's Make Games for a long time, but she became a member, especially in the context of trying to help create WA Games Week. And she's also been a longtime member of Immerse, who is the president is Natalie Marino, who's also on the steering committee for WA Games Week with us. Basically, it evolved out of a number of discussions from people across Let's Make Games and Immerse Connect as well, who have said, you know what, Perth Games Festival is a fantastic grassroots event. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of volunteer work, people's time and energy and sponsorship just to run what's already been existing, let alone try to expand. And so the real thing that kicked a lot of this off was actually watching Pixel Expo essentially come out of nowhere and just, for an American expression, knock it completely out of the park. Just did a phenomenal job in their first run and basically showed us all that it can be done. They booked the convention center, they did a tremendous amount of promotion, planning, etc. Did a fantastic job. And we said, hey, you know what, we could try to emulate that if we have the right people, the right support, and the right dedication. So there was a meeting called by Caitlin Lomax to bring together the three groups, so the Pixel Expo team, Let's Make Games, and Immerse Australia. We've now partnered with other groups as well, but those are the three core in the founding conversation. Who said, hey, look, okay, you know, if you guys are willing to put in the hard work, you know, this new steering committee could essentially create an event that would lay the foundations for hopefully the WA Perth equivalent of Melbourne Games Week, or Melbourne International Games Week. Something that promotes industry, something that offers possibly workshops, or for us to start especially talks to try and help industry people, but also get more exposure for the game side. So this year is especially more focused on industry and indie devs, local VR. But hopefully next year we'll also incorporate Pixel with further planning. They had already had the convention center booked, they had their dates locked in, they were all set, so that wasn't really a flexible choice. We had some other planning considerations, such as trying to time it nicely so that we could piggyback off of Melbourne Games Week. So if people were flying over from overseas, they could hit both. that's part of the time difference between the two events. Plus, also, it's a bit of we need to prove ourselves. We need to see that we can pull this off, and things don't catch on fire, and that people come out and support and like what they see.
That's it, 100%. And it can be done. And I'm gonna draw some comparisons to PAX over East, because they've always got GCAP that happens before their event.
Mm-hmm.
And like seeing what's going on with Pixel Expo, because full disclosure here, I'm involved with Pixel Expo as part of their Twitch Pals sort of stuff. And I believe that the Stream Perth area is actually right next door to Let's Make Games at the expo, so we might run into each other there if you're attending Pixel.
Oh, I will indeed.
Yeah, so it's quite exciting to see the synergy, to borrow a corporate term, between the two groups, because it's the way you build it. And correct me if I'm wrong here, because I have no experience in doing this sort of event, but like if you can lead into another event, like you're saying, like you can combine with Melbourne Games Week, you can combine with, well, not combine, but lead into like GCAP and PAX and stuff like that. You give people that are flying over here a reason to stick around in Australia and continue on to those other events as well. So, and particularly getting in with something like Pixel Expo that has things like the games there. It has the panels that are just about interesting things. Well, I hope they're interesting things. They're interesting to me, at least.
Same.
And just stuff like cosplay as well. I was over at DreamHack earlier this year in Melbourne, and I think this was the first year they'd kind of put in, and granted it's only been the second year it's been here, but they put in cosplay, and it just adds this extra dimension of people you get there. So people that would wander around that were there for the cosplay would see the games that were on offer as well, and it adds that versatility to it, and gets more eyes on the product of what you're looking at. But of course, the big component of WA Games Week is going to be things like the panels and industry specific talks that you'll have for the local game devs there. I speak well most of the time, but yeah, as well as the local game devs and anybody that flies in for it. So what kind of things have you got in store for the people when they come to the WA Games Week?
So we have from the 17th till the Thursday, the 20th, my brain was going slow then, the 21st, we've rented out the Vin and Flower, where we'll be hosting the talks, as well as hopefully some workshops, and as well as a social mixer. I can't give away who's the big company that's helping put that one together just yet, but stay tuned. That's going to be very exciting. We also, just a quick shout out to Level Her Up, is an organization dedicated to getting women involved in video games and helping prop up women in video games. We'll be running a series of workshops that will end with a game jam that ends on the 17th, so roughly right around the time that we kick off. They're closing out their event series. I highly recommend you check that out as well. We'll be then going through the talks through up until Immerse Connect, which is going to be on Friday. That's going to be at the Esplanade Hotel Ridges, where we'll then also be hosting Perth Games Festival on the Saturday, the 23rd.
And that's amazing. And I do want to touch on Level Her Up, because this is such a wonderful group that are doing this, because I love seeing underrepresented areas in games and getting their leg up, because really it's hard. Like I always say, I'm the middle-aged straight white man. I've had things my way for forever. Like, and I love seeing when you go to select a character and it's the woman that's the first one that pops up rather than the bloke. Yeah, it's little things like that show you that things are changing, and allowing women in particular to have this leg up through Level Her Up and the game jam stuff that's going to happen. Game jams are so much fun, like seeing what comes out of them, and giving people the opportunity, because I think the workshops are starting on the 29th of July, I think. So
yes. So I've only recently become a partner of the event. I've only recently begun to help out, but there's going to be 3 individual days of workshops, and I will be participating in the marketing section. Funny enough, when you're talking about game jams are fun for everybody but marketing. There's really not anything for us to do unless I want to sit there and pretend to be a judge and say, good job. But yeah, no, they're a lot of fun to watch and be a part of for sure. Um, but yeah, no, they're a fantastic group. I've only recently gotten involved. Kate Hall has also only recently come to WA and is doing a phenomenal job trying to organize a pretty ambitious set of awesome workshops and has a star-studded cast of people joining. So that's very exciting.
Can't wait. And it's a great way to segue into the WA Games Week proper, finishing with that Games Jam. You've got a heap of people around, maybe people that don't really know so much about the industry, and then you can show them, okay, well, here's some networking events so you can get to know people. You're interested in going and becoming a game developer, talk to them. Go to these sessions,
Yeah.
learn what goes on, go to the mixes that you've got. I think I saw something, you've got something on a Thursday night at Palace Arcade, and talk to things, talk to people. That's the big thing. Talk to people, learn what they're going. Maybe your next coding job will come out of there. So you never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely, and also if anybody's ever interested, come join us in the Let's Make Game Discord server. The Let's Make Games Discord server also hosts regularly people posting about job opportunities. They're looking for programmers, they're looking for artists, audio engineers, you name it.
And of course, the WA Games Week finishes with 2 pretty big events. You've got the Immerse Connect at the Esplanade by Ridges out in Fremantle there, and of course Perth Games Fest. So can you talk us a little bit about the Immerse Connect? Because that to me, like learning a little bit more about Immerse through this session has been quite interesting to me, because like VR is, I'm very interested in VR, but it's still kind of niche to me. And particularly, I guess, probably what people more know it for is the augmented reality sort of stuff. So your Pokemon Goes and things like that just enhance the world around you. So what's that Friday session going to be like with the Immerse Connect?
So Immerse is going to focus, is very industry focused. So it's very much for people who are already in the industry or in related industries. And that's one of the interesting things about WA is there's a surprising amount of games talent who were unable to find jobs in the game sector because there just simply aren't many here. There's not a lot of big video game names, big players, no AAA studios. And so what's ended up happening is you get a lot of smaller outfits that do support for things like mining or other tech industries where you have people creating VR experiences to help VR, AR experiences to help manage entire facilities, to help do other interesting mining setups. So the skills and the talent are here in WA, and that's a big part of what Immerse is working with, is connecting these kind of semi-related industries that are brought together by the tech that's largely created by video games. Not to bring up a funny subject, but the submersible story that was in the news, was managed by a PlayStation controller, not.
Not
might
with
have been one of the better design choices or worse.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can debate it, but the idea being simply that the video game industry has a phenomenal impact on other industries that you may be surprised by, including for WA mining.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that, because now that you brought it up, I remember years ago I was working for a training organization, and they had a virtual welder. And the machine measured how well you did. Once again, I know nothing about welding, but like it measured just how steady you went along, how good your weld was, and stuff like that. So now that you mention it, it kind of makes sense that there's a lot of those people in WA to support places like the mining industry where it's so big, and it makes sense that Immerse Australia is such a big thing, and that Immerse Connect will bring a lot of those together in that Friday session as part of WA Games Week. But I do want to talk about the WA Games Fest, because I like, as a consumer, somebody that isn't 100% involved in the industry, like just I'm happy to sit here and talk about it, and we'll talk about it till the cows come home. But that to me is the bread and butter for the consumers. That's the one where you want to go along. It's where I've encountered games like Miska Tiny Tail, which I absolutely love. Every time a demo of that comes up, I'm playing it just to see what's changed and how they're coming along. And even stuff like, I don't think they're a WA dev, but Broken Roads and the game Broken Roads, like they released a demo of that recently, and my God, it's based in WA. It's you down around Brookton, and it's just everything about it screams Australia to me, and I absolutely adore it. And you know, that sort of a project wouldn't have come about without the WA gaming influence, and you wouldn't see these games on a big stage. Like Steam does good things with their festivals and whatnot, but it's still very hard to get visibility in there when you're competing against thousands of other games.
Yeah.
So to me, Perth Games Fest is very important to highlight those games to people, and to get the public involved in them. Like even things like there's the Barton Lynch surfing game that's coming along soon. But and I don't think people realize as well how long these games are in production for. Like I first saw Miska Tiny Tail in 2021. I know in my previous life working with Game on Oz, we spoke to the devs from Barton Lynch surfing as well, and that was got to be a couple of years ago now, and both of those are still in production. So it takes a long time, but it's so great seeing the iterations at things like Perth Games Fest.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I see. I could tangent off this and talk about how long game
Yeah.
development takes for a very long time, and how it's a very
Mhm.
serious commitment. I think
Mhm.
World of Warcraft was also nearly 10 years before the world saw it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I've been on projects that have taken. I didn't spend the entire 7 years on it, but I've worked on projects that have taken those 7 years. I mean,
Mhm.
it's not uncommon, especially at the scale and magnitude of games that people are launching these days. Right? Any Grand Theft
Oh,
Auto title is
yeah.
a huge endeavor.
Mhm.
That aside, going back to your point about getting viewership, there was only a handful of WA games that were over at PAX last year in the indie section, right? Hungry Skies is a team that's been around for ages, that have been working hard with Necograms and other titles. Last year, Ricochet Rodeo was shown from Echidna Games in PAX. I helped out with that. Um, but yeah, Tiny Tail is one of my favorites to put up as a poster child for the things that we do. It's a beautiful game. It's an awesome team. And I know several of the people that are part of Broken Roads. There are a few that are here based in WA for sure, and they're involved with us in Let's Make Games. So yeah, it's a small community, and that's one of the beautiful parts about joining now and being part of the WA game scene is you will get to know plenty of those people, and you can reach out to them and talk to them and say, hey, how did you get a Nintendo game developer kit? That was a big discussion just a few weeks ago when we were out for a meetup. It was it difficult to get the Nintendo kit? How did you get the Xbox kit? How was PlayStation, right? What's it like to, how do I get these things set up? Or what do I need to know about Steam? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talking to people who have been there. They're here in WA. The experience is also here.
Yep, that's absolutely amazing. There is one thing I do want to quickly touch on with the Perth Games Fest. So previously, it's been an intimate event held in the Perth Town Hall. This
Yeah.
year, moving out to the Esplanade by Ridges and charging the $10 entry fee. Now, like to me, I don't mind that charging, because like I've been involved with some things, like I play hockey and we've done things there. But the minute you ask people to pay for things, two things happens. One, you do lose some people that were just going to come along because it was free, but you also gain people, because if you make it a ticketed event, you say, here, you need to get your ticket, but then you also, people have paid for it, so there's an investment in there, and they're more likely to come along than a Facebook event saying, oh, this is free, and you go, oh, look how many people are interested, we've got 1,000 people interested and maybe 100 turn up. It's so I get the reasoning behind it, and at the end of the day, it's still free for kids as well, so it's only
Yeah.
an adult
Yeah.
charge. And really, for what you're going to be seeing on the day, what you're going to be able to try out, it's a very low cost and a great day out for the kids, really.
I mean, but it's you're absolutely right. The thing is, we don't have big AAA named yet. This not yet this year, but we are showing off some awesome talent and work from local communities, and one of from WA, and one of the best things that's always historically been a strong suit of PGF was showing off the students, showing off student work, and setting PGF as basically a goal for the end of the semester for students to then show off their work and have a mini PAX experience, right? Setting deadlines and all the rest. But to go back to your point about the setting a premium on the tickets, it was a long debated and intense topic for the community, for the Let's Make Games group. That wasn't clear cut or wasn't necessarily agreed on by everyone. The thing is that it's part of a necessary step to make the jump from where we were to where we are now by leaving the town hall. Town hall was a great central location. It had a lot of history. It had a lot of character, but it also had 1/10 of the deposit required or total cost for the event versus the Ridges. And the Ridges is a phenomenal location. We're very happy with, but it's still a drop in the bucket compared to say the convention hall. You know what I mean? So it's these things get expensive to run, to manage, and whatnot, which we're making up for in large part with sponsorship. And we're reaching out. If anybody's hearing this and interested in sponsoring, please by all means contact me or contact us. Um, and there are a growing number of people who are very excited to see, hey, things are happening in WA. WA is growing. There's always a lot of time and energy that goes into every one of the Perth Games festivals, especially on the part of the exhibitors who need to come, let alone the organizers, right? And so it's it's a great commitment to them to also get the ticket price, get the people in, and try and like you said, when you buy a ticket, it's a very different experience versus maybe I'll go. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll just show up. But yeah, we'll see. We have to, fingers crossed. We still want walk-ins, of course. We still want to get that foot traffic, unless we run into the Pixel amazing scenario of selling out their first ever event. Would be nice. We'll see.
Yeah, and I'm sure you will. People will realize what this is about, and particularly when you have the lead-in stuff with the WA Games Week and get some promotion around that, people will come. Like it's and $10 for an adult ticket. Let me stress. Do you know where the cutoff is for the child free tickets?
Yeah, that's not clear.
So
We may need to
so
define that a bit better, but
yeah.
it's honor system, let's say.
Yeah. And sorry to put you on the spot there, but yeah,
That's all good.
it could be a family day out. People interested in coming along, seeing what's there, and look, it really is. It's a huge thing. Like Ground Zero, local esports team, put up in Joondalup over the school holidays recently their Rocket League stuff, and one of the days their Rocket League team were down there. People want to see that. People are interested in what video games has to offer because it's grown, and you're right in that for WA game dev community to grow as well, you need to take the event to the next level, and this is an amazing start, getting WA Games Week up to where you can springboard off to bigger events as well. So, Alan, I think that's probably about all the time we've got here today. But I want to thank you so much for joining me to talk about WA Games Fest here on Roundtable Co-op's Indie Insight. Amazing. I was just having a look because I was a little bit worried. I play hockey and our games are on Saturdays, but that the Saturday of the Perth Games Fest is outside of our season. So I think I'm going to go right now and buy myself a ticket for that. So
Yes,
I
please.
can come and have a look at all the amazing games that's going on there. But congratulations on putting on such an event, and good luck with the future events as well.
Thank you very much, Darren. Really appreciate you having me on here, and yeah, wish us luck. I think it's going to be a good year.